Africa's wealth isn't hiding in one secret vault. It's leaking through multiple channels, with the biggest drains tied to illicit financial flows, capital flight, trade misinvoicing, corruption, and the structure of natural resource extraction. The continent is extraordinarily rich in minerals, oil, metals, and arable land, yet much of the economic value generated escapes or never fully accrue to African economies and populations. Recent estimates show Africa loses roughly $88 to $90 billion annually to illicit financial flows, equivalent to about 3.7% of the continent's GDP. This figure comes from sources like United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, the African Union High-Level Panel on IFF, chaired by Thabo Mbeki, and updates from groups tracking trade gaps. Over decades, the cumulative impact is staggering. Over the 53-year period from 1970 to 2022, 30 African countries lost an estimated $2.7 trillion through capital flight, an amount roughly equal to 99% of their combined GDP in 2022 and 91% of the entire continent's GDP. Trade-related value gaps is a key proxy for misinvoicing, with sub-Saharan Africa hitting over $152.9 billion in 2022 alone. Resource-rich countries are especially affected, with 6 of the top 10 most impacted being oil exporters. To some extent, capital flight is one of the mechanisms of the resource curse in Africa. These outflows often exceed inflows from aid and foreign direct investment, combined in many periods, making parts of Africa a net creditor to the world. Second, where the wealth goes. Commercial IFF via trade misinvoicing and abusive profit shifting. Multinational companies understate export values or overstate import costs. This accounts for 65 to 70% of the IFF in many analyses. Natural resource sectors, such as oil, minerals, metals, are hotspots. For example, raw commodities leave Africa cheaply. Value addition, including refining and processing, happens elsewhere, capturing most profits outside the continent. Third, foreign ownership and value chains and resources. Africa holds vast reserves. Example, cobalt, diamond, gold, rare earth, but much extraction dominated by foreign companies. Profits, dividends, and intellectual property returns frequently exit. Local communities and governments capture royalties and taxes, but these are often modest relative to the full economic value due to contract, transfer pricing, and limited downstream processing on the continent. This perpetuates a pattern where Africa exports raw materials cheaply and imports finished goods expensively. 4. Corruption and state capture. Income from resources, example, oil and minerals, often flow to narrow elites rather than public budgets. Audits have shown billions disappearing from state accounts, which is enabled by weak institutions, opaque licensing of mining or oil rights, and deals where foreign firms gain concession at undervalued prices via offshore entities. 5. Historical factors. Events like colonization and the scramble for Africa captured Africa economies to export raw materials rather than building local industries and exporting finished products. 6. Agriculture. Africa has over 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land, and agribusiness could reach $1 trillion by 2030. Yet, current output is only about $468 billion in 2024. Productivity is low, which is 60% below global averages. Irrigation is 5% of farmland, and over 60% of people rely on subsistence farming that contributes to just 20 to 25% of GDP. Despite its potential, Africa remains a net food importer of over 64.5 billion, with costs expected to exceed 110 billion in forthcoming years. So growth could come through value addition, mechanization, and climate-smart farming. 7. Human resources. Africa has the youngest population globally, with a rapidly growing workforce that could boost GDP by 11 to 15% by 2030 if supported by investment in education, health, and jobs. However, the Human Capital Index is only 0.40, reflecting low productivity, high youth unemployment, skills gaps, low higher education access, and brain drain. With investment, the youth population could increase stability, drive innovation, and provide long-term growth. These problems persist due to political instability, weak property rights, unrevised jurisdictions, complex corporate structures, and limited cross-border transparency, making tracking difficult. Heavy reliance on extractives without strong local value addition or diversified economies amplifies leakage. These losses deprive governments of revenue for infrastructure, health, education, and security. They worsen inequality, fuel debt cycles, and undermine development. Africa's wealth isn't mysteriously vanished. It's systematically externalized through extractive models, mispricing, corruption-enabled outflows, and offshore secrecy. Coupled with uncultivated arable land, untapped human potential, and brain drain. Addressing it requires more investment in human capital and agriculture, stronger domestic institutions, better resource contracts and value addition, regional cooperation on tax or anti-IFF policies, and global reforms on transport. Without curbing the hemorrhage, resource riches will continue fueling elite accumulation and foreign gains more than broad-based prosperity. Disclaimer: these are responses from AI. I have dropped the links to the official information. Give this video a like, share, and subscribe for more valuable content. Thank you.